Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
And welcome, Daigan.
And thank you all for inviting me. I always love it when I can come here and sit with you all. So I have really struggled this year a little bit. And I want to talk a little bit about it's okay to not be okay. I firmly believe that as a monk, as a priest, as a Buddhist, we're encouraged to not turn away, right? To meet our suffering. And we have these avatars, bodhisattvas, in our lineage that are examples of this. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, the hearer of the cries of the world. And I think that at the beginning of the year, I really started to feel overwhelmed by it all, to feel overpowered by it all. And I was really trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what does it look like to be responsible, right? To hear the cries of the world, and what do I do with that, all of that information? I've been an activist most of my life. I sort of grew up in the days of ACT UP and Queer Nation, and that was my coming of age, as it were. And, demonstrations and against the first war in Afghanistan, then the second war in Afghanistan, and then the war in Iraq. And I thought that that's what that was supposed to look like. Fast forward to the end of February, I'm part of I have a circle of friends who are all clergy people, and some of whom are Buddhist and others who aren't. And in that, the meeting, the gathering we had at the end of February, some people had said, it's okay to not be okay. And, it's a trite saying that I think we all hear a lot. And I heard it differently. And I really started to sort of sit with and chew on, almost like a koan, right? Like, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? What is that? How do I practice that? Right? And stay sane. Because that's the important part to me, was I wanted to stay sane. And I wanted to still be of service. I still wanted to be able to be available and accessible. And so I've got a couple of ideas. I don't know whether they're true or not, but I have some ideas. And I think the first of it is that I think it's really important to think about what we consume and how we consume. And I don't just mean like, do I recycle well, or am I a vegetarian? I mean, what is it that I'm taking into my body? But even more important, what are the thoughts that I consume of my own, right? What are what's the way that I talk to myself? What's the expectations I have of myself? What is it that I sort of have created as parameters for my life, and how rigid are they? Because we think of consumption as something that goes from outside inward, but the truth is most of what we consume is in our own mind. Our own thoughts, our own ideas, our own judgments, our own opinions. But I also started to look at all of the ways in which I can hold the discomfort of living in modern times. So there's this consumption piece, but then there's also this piece of what do I do with all of the stuff, right, that I take in? I used to think that not turning away meant I had to read every news article and watch all the news and listen to all the discourse and be engaged with all of the sort of information. And it had gotten to the point where I was just serious all the time. Like it was just, I was going to this meeting and this talk and this gathering and doing these things and this march and that march. Or I was being available to my friends who were marching, because I also live in a body that doesn't always march well. So I would be their phone call. I don't engage so much in civil disobedience anymore. And I thought that was so important, because that's what it meant to not turn away, right? But if it's okay to not be okay, how do I differentiate between the information I need and the information that I'm getting? How do I differentiate? It was almost like trying to drink from a fire hose. There's a Family Guy cartoon in which a father and son are touring a fire station, and the son tries to get, the dad says, "Oh, I want to drink from this fire hose," and the son opens the fire hose and it blows all his skin off, and then you see him say, "Great, you got my shirt wet." But it really felt like that, like I was living my life in this way that was just like my skin had been ripped off. And so I started to do things like I would reach out to my friends and I would say, what's bringing you joy today? What's good for you? Share with me what's bringing you ease and comfort. And then I started to ask myself that. Because I think that part of what has to happen, at least for people like me who have this idea that I have to be engaged. It's not okay for me to not. Like the idea of, oh, I don't engage in politics just escapes me. Like, because politics sure engages with me on a regular basis. But I think that how I started to really try to notice not just all the suffering in the world, but there's still other things happening. There's joy, there's love. I watch a lot of videos of babies laughing because it's, one, they laugh at the best stuff. But also just because it reminds me there's still joy here. There's still ease here. It's not hopeless. Because see, that's what was happening, was I was convinced that we had done all this before, we'd gotten some progress, and then it got all ripped away. And so it felt really kind of hopeless, like why bother? And that's where I was at the end of February. So this idea of like, one, I'm starting to learn to be okay no matter what. I have pockets of safety in my life. I have people who love me and who support me. And I have people who I can go to who have known me a long time, who can remind me that it's okay to not be okay. You know, I think that as human beings, we have so much knowledge and so much awareness. And part of what Buddhist practice invites us to do is to start to tap into that, right? So it's not just about my awareness, it's about this collective awareness. I often talk about when I give a talk, I want to move my lips, but let the room give the talk, right? Somehow connect in with this collective awareness so that we're interacting in a way that feels interdependent. So, all of that to say, I'm still chewing on this idea, right? I don't have anything other than the belief that it's real and that it's somehow liberating me. That I'm bringing, you know, the other thing is it's a call for me to really investigate what does okay mean for me, right? At this grown age, what's it look like in my body when I'm okay? What does it look like in my life when I'm okay, right? How do I define those terms? I think it's so easy for us to think we understand something, or think that we know, oh, I know when I'm okay. Do I though? Most of the time, I'm convinced I'm not okay, so I'm not so sure. And I think the other really important piece of all of this is that I don't have to know everything. I grew up believing that if I knew everything, I could be okay. That there was safety in knowledge and awareness. And I lived that out for nearly 60 years. Convinced that if I just studied hard enough, if I practiced hard enough, if I paid attention enough, if I read the right books and I did the right things and I followed the right rules, everything would be great. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But whether or not it is not dependent on what I know. It's not dependent on much of anything, really, because what it's really dependent on is my ability to sit still and be in the midst of whatever is happening. To connect to what's really going on, not my ideas and my opinions and my stories about it, but what's it really like to be me? What is it to live in this body, in this moment? What's the nature of my experience? And if I can rest there no matter what's going on, if I can find a connection to that part, that's how I'm okay when I'm not okay. And that usually works, except on the days that it doesn't. And then I just try to remember it the next day. Because that's the other thing, right? Like, it's not over until it's over. If I'm breathing, if I'm on this side of the dirt, it's not over. Just like when I get distracted in meditation, I can always return. I can always come back. I can always settle again. And honestly, I think that is 90% of practice, is this return. So I don't know if that made sense to anybody but me. But that's what I'm practicing with these days. It's what I'm chewing on. It's my koan. And I invite you to chew on it with me. It's okay to not be okay. But what does that really mean? What does it look like? What's it, the experience of it? Thank you all very much. I want to invite you to comment, ask questions. And it doesn't have to be about that. It can also just be about your own practice. Or Hi, Tom.
Daigan, thank you. You know, your talk made me realize that when I rush to get out of not feeling okay is most often the time when I become like, it's, you know, we're all screwed, just give up and go watch a rerun, you know, watch Tootsie over again or something. And soothe myself, which has its place.
Yeah.
But it's often when I'm like, okay, I gotta get back to, I gotta get, you know, stop the suffering, which is the true aversion.
Right.
I just can't do it. And Eve Decker gave a great talk last Thursday over in Berkeley, talking about, so the Buddha said, like, there's only three things going on for us. It's stuff coming in through our senses, our mind, our thoughts about whatever's happening, and our feelings. Like, our whole world consists inside of us, interpreting what's coming in and what's happening inside. And he had, I think it was it the Kalam Sutta? Anyway, it's like 18, 19, and 21, these three things. And she talked about one of them, where he gave this formula of how to shift our thinking, like how to get away from these thoughts. And it was this great little 5-step thing that she called shift, and I'll just share it real quick. S is substitute a different thought. Like, can you just get your mind off of this? He goes from the easiest solution to the hardest solution. Shift, can you just substitute a different thought? Well, that'll help me shift my mind away from this. If that doesn't work, H is harm awareness. Like, become aware. This is really causing me to suffer. This is not benign. Don't entertain it, Will that help me shift? I think I is inquire or insight, where we look at, where is this coming from? Like, what's causing this to keep coming back? Why am I so focused on it? And maybe that'll help me shift off of it. I think F was fade out. Like, can I take it a step down to a somewhat lesser thought, and then a somewhat lesser thought, and a somewhat lesser thought, until it just goes away. And I think T was throttle. Like, if that doesn't work, he actually says in the sutta, grit your teeth, bulge your eyes, put your tongue up against the roof of your mouth, and just like push it out of your mind. Like, this is like psychology type stuff where he's giving this solution. And I don't know if that's helpful, but I have found it actually helpful just in the last week, dealing with thoughts that invade me and how to get myself off of it.
Thank you. And I love you. She's so good.
Yeah.
You're mentioning throttle reminded me of, I had a therapist once. My favorite thing to engage in is anger. I was trained well by my, people. And I had this therapist once who invited me to break dishes. And so we went to Goodwill and we bought a bunch of dishes and threw them up against a wall in an alleyway to really let them shatter and really let the noise reverberate. That's what I thought of when you were talking about this throttling, right? Like, to just express it in a way that is not harmful to other people. I wore safety goggles so it wasn't harmful to me. But also, and then I cleaned it up, right? Like, but this idea of expression, instead of trying to soothe it or make it better, right? Like, just express it so the infection comes out. So that's what I heard. Andrea?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for your talk. I've been thinking of, I think everybody's been thinking a lot about the world lately, but it's what I let in and what I choose not to let in, and it's also what I'm putting out.
I'm sorry, you're...
Putting out. I'm putting out, last night I was not okay. Today I'm okay. What it's like to not be okay is that I'm uncomfortable in my skin. I want to know, and I'd rather escape anything. And what I was able to do was call somebody. Sangha, 12-step fellowship, a friend, somebody who knows me. And maybe a few calls and find out that I'm not the only one. And then the other thing is, and I sit for peace and justice in a Sangha. I try to see where I can best put my support financially, spiritually, physically. And also, I'm a great believer in joy. I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's an ocean out there. There's a flower blooming. There's a bird singing. And I'm not any more, I am more useful when I'm balanced like that and being the change I want to see. And then knowing that when I'm not okay, I don't have to eat, I don't have to run, I don't have to anything, and I don't have to like it either.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it that way. But this is it. And so, like I said, yesterday I was not okay. I think things are changing that I don't want to change, and then my mind gets going, and I go into old tapes. And so, it's the we of life. Before 12-step recovery and before spiritual practice, it was the I of life. And that's what I was taught. And it is through being part of this big world. And I came here in the 60s, I did all the revolution. I can't believe what we lost. But, it's not lost. None of it's going to be lost. And so I guess it's what I take in, what I put out. And I don't think I'm in denial at all.
Mm-hmm.
And, but to be angry 24/7, and I believe they want us to be defeated. And I refuse to give up. So I can't do that alone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thank you. Henry.
Daigan, was reminded of another slogan that maybe even goes one step further, which is learning to be comfortable with discomfort. And that is a nice sounding slogan, but it's very hard actually. I don't know if it makes any more or less sense than the way that you phrased it, but it seems somehow useful.
Yeah, there's a teacher in Zen, she's passed now, her name is Darlene Cohen. And she lived with a pretty serious and heavy disability and chronic pain condition, including multiple bouts of cancer. And she used to talk a lot about this, right? Like, how do I live in a body that's really uncomfortable most of the time? And it's funny because I can do that when it's about my body. It's much harder for me to do that when it's not about my body. I can be physically, I'm sorry?
Can you explain that a little more? When it's not about your body?
So when it's a physical thing, right? Like I live with chronic pain and in a body that doesn't work I don't want to say how it should work. It works the way it works, but it doesn't work in accordance with what would be considered functional all the time. So when the discomfort is physical, when it's, oh, my feet are really painful today, or my stomach is really not doing great today, I can deal with that and be okay in that discomfort. But when it's a mental construction, when it's about my feeling overwhelmed by the world or some kind of emotional, it's depression or anxiety or...
Do you not consider that going on in your body?
No, I do, but I think that it takes me a minute to get to the place where I can see it as
As physical?
right. because I do. I think that our bodies are not separate from our minds, and our minds are not separate from our bodies or our feelings. Like, it's not three distinct things, it's one thing. And so oftentimes when I'm trying to figure out what's going on with me, because sometimes I just have big feelings and I have no idea what the fuck it is, I'll turn and I'll find it in my body. Okay, where is it living right now? What's happening? Oh, my breath is really shallow and my back is really tight. And I'm limping a little bit. Okay. So there's tightness here. What's connected to that, and what's that like? And can I investigate that? And then usually that opens up what's happening with the big feelings, right? But when it's just strictly about some physical sensation, when I first started meditating, my feet fell asleep all the time. And I would... It was always like, okay, just be like, was it a problem because I felt like I had to do something about it, or was it a problem because I just wasn't okay with my feet being asleep? Right? It's a strictly physical sensation. I had feelings about it, but I would not... But really sitting in it and just letting myself, okay, my feet are asleep, so what? There's still 20 minutes left in the session. I'm going to be here, so... Sometimes it's important to move, sometimes it's not, but you don't know that until you investigate it, until you sit with it. Right? But that's what I mean about the difference between physical and the rest. Like, it's easy for me when it's mostly physical. It's much more complicated when it's my feelings or my thoughts and ideas to be okay being uncomfortable. I've also lived for 25 years with physical limitations, and so I'm kind of used to it. You know, I just switched doctors, and my doctor was like, why don't you take pain medication? And I said, because I don't need it. It doesn't change anything except make me stoned. It doesn't change the pain. So why would I take something that's not working except to get me stoned? So, yeah. I'm just used to certain things happening with this body, and so they don't bother me so much anymore.
So can you, just in connection with that, I'm just asking questions because I'm trying to understand. When you say it's okay to not be okay, can you talk about that a little? What is okay and what is not okay to you?
That's the question. That's what I've been sitting with. That's what I've been chewing on. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Sometimes I think I have an idea about it, and sometimes I'm as far away from it as I was in January. But I have ideas about how to connect to it, to connect to the okayness. You know, like Andrea said, falling into Sangha, looking for places of joy, looking for the flowers. Every morning I do a well-being ceremony, and it started because I thought, oh, okay, this is a way for me to contribute to the world. Now, sometimes it's because it makes me feel better to chant for all these people that I chant for every morning. So yeah, I'm still chewing on it.
Daigan, thank you. I think, well, lately I do a gratitude list every morning, and I text it to different people, we exchange gratitexts,
Mm-hmm.
which really helps me focus on joy
Mhm.
and keep equanimity with all the, I love Pema Chodron's statement, life is wretched and life is glorious.
Mhm.
It is both. I want that tattoo. And I focus on the glorious when I'm doing my gratitude list. And I think when I'm not okay, it's because of whatever story my mind is spinning around what is happening. And I could be okay when I'm, quote, not okay with what my mind is spinning. And I guess the combination of mindfulness, meditation, Buddhism, and 12-step recovery has helped give me a toolbox to use when I'm willing to use it. And also just an awareness that, okay, I'm not okay right now, or I think I'm not okay right now, and my brain's telling me and my body's actually telling me I'm not okay. But it's usually the story. I have really cranky knees. And so I can be like, oh my God, my knees are killing me, I'm going to be crippled, I need knee replacement surgery, kind of won't give it to me until I can't walk. In that sense, I'm not okay, but like if I really just sit still for a second and be like, well, I could take an Advil, put ice on it, I could take a stretch, I'm okay. It's like the story. And right now the story I'm spinning at work is about this one kid who's really problematic. And when I spin the story like that, I'm stressed out, I'm like, my body, I feel it in my body. I mean, I'm like sweating, I'm vibrating. I often feel vibrations when I'm super anxious, I vibrate. That's the way I experience it. And, so then I realized, I'm vibrating with anxiety, and then the toolbox, it's like, what can I get out of the toolbox to spin it the other way and be okay when I'm not okay? Because, my body's telling me, my brain is telling me, you're not okay, everything's terrible. But if I pick up a tool, like phone and meditation, breath, and mindfulness, and I practice meditation with my kids, so I'll get out the bowl and be like, let's just keep quiet. So I think I'm just repeating myself over and over. It's what the story that's spinning in my head that is not okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Bob, and then I don't remember anything.
In listening to your talk today, I was realizing I don't think I ever used the word okay about what I'm thinking or feeling, but the word I've been using a lot lately is awareness. What am I aware of in myself? Am I aware that I'm feeling, and I don't know the words to use, comfortable, relaxed, happy? Am I aware of being uncomfortable, angry? And when I become aware of whatever it is I'm sensing about myself and the world, I allow myself to think other things, to change it. It's more of a reaction than a real focused effort to make things better for myself. I think one of the things Buddhism has taught me, everything changes. So whatever I'm aware of now, I can allow or encourage it to change, preferably for the better, but if it gets worse, okay. Well, what about this? And I just become aware and I flow and it's rare that I get super upset or super happy, but I just go on feeling more comfortable with not a huge amount of effort. And I've structured my life so that for lunch and dinner I have a dessert that has chocolate in it. And I look forward to those things every day. And that awareness that I'm going to have this pleasurable thing helps relax.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how strictly Buddhist any of that is, but I don't care because it's organized.
I think it's very Buddhist. Just like the laughing babies for me.
I've been involved in harm.
Tell me your name again.
My name is David.
Thank you.
I've been involved in a harm reduction program for over 10 years. And on Wednesday, I was at a meeting in person, and the question was, what are you going to do this week that is going to contribute to your harm reduction goals? And my statement came to me that I'm going to re-engage in curiosity and do something every day that's going to make me engaged with people.
Mm-hmm.
So this week I've been wanting to re-engage in community things because I've been feeling so depressed. And Friday I was watching the stock market go down, and I really got super anxious. I started feeling suicidal. It was so bad. And I went to sleep. And I woke up and I felt refreshed. And I had decided I was going to go to a 50-plus meeting at Maxfield's, which is a bunch of old guys like me, and hang out with them. And as a Buddhist, I take refuge in the Sangha, And I have Sanghas in my life, and one of them is the dog park. And one of them is groups of old guys like me. Mm-hmm. And one of them is this meeting. And after I went to the meeting on Saturday, I started engaging with people that I didn't know, and just talking and sharing and being with the people. And I came away feeling so refreshed about, and so all I can say is, for me, it's taking refuge in the Sangha and finding my Sangha, as I go through my life, my everyday. And that's what's helping me this week.
Thank you. Anybody online? I just want to make...
Yes, somebody is online and has a question.
Okay.
Ed, please unmute yourself. And
Excuse me. It seems to me that okay and not okay either are or might be the same thing. That makes sense?
Yeah. That's a very Zen way of looking at it. One of my other Zen friends and I were talking about turning away and touching are both wrong. But yeah, I think okay and not okay are both the same. It's the same as, aversion and the word totally left my mind just clinging. I had it in it disappeared. But they're the same thing too, right? Like they're not different. And but again, I think that's a very Zen approach, and we have to be careful that we don't fall into the trap of because they're the same thing, then we don't have to pay attention to how they're different. Mm. And so, yes, they're the same and they're different. And,
at the same time.
Right. And both the sameness and the difference are really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, please, Cass. Sister.
So, I guess one of the things that you mentioned that stood out to me is that all of the, what's going on in the world, it's not just that you think about it, but that it also enters your body.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I was on retreat, I was shocked to discover that there are people who actually experience the world, through their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all filtered through the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I dodged a bullet there, but so I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about how experiencing the world that way, the news of the world, the events of the world, what you meant when you said it enters the body as well.
Yeah. So I said earlier that the mind and the body and our feelings are not separate. And so oftentimes news will appear in my vision, or, will appear. I'll think about it. And that thought leads to feelings, which then leads to body awareness, right? And Thich Nhat Hanh talks a great deal about consumption as not just about what we eat, but there's all kinds of ways that we consume the world. And so becoming aware of how I'm consuming and what I'm consuming has been really helpful for me to figure out how to be okay in the midst of it. Right? But I think that it starts with this awareness of, it appears here, and then I have thoughts about it, and then I have feelings about it, which is how it enters my body. And then there's the physicality of that thought and that feeling and that news and that experience. And so that's how I think about it. And sometimes I don't even have to get the news. I just get the vibe, right? Like sometimes you'll be walking down the street or on a bus and just get that vibe, and it just enters your body, and all of a sudden you're just anxious. Not aware that you had a thought or a feeling or anything else. But you did. I did. Because all of a sudden I'm just here, anxious. Nobody did anything. So I think also there's that, right? There's just the consumption of my own thoughts and my own process and the way I consume myself, too. But I think it's important to not differentiate between thoughts in these instances when I'm thinking about consumption, to not differentiate between physical, emotional, and mental.
But just recognize that it's all happening.
Yeah.
That it is all taking place.
And there's this sort of feedback loop amongst them. And sometimes that turns into a cycle. And so sometimes to get to the okay is to interrupt that cycle. Right? And get off the treadmill. Yeah?
Yeah, I think for me...
Remind me your name.
Steve.
Steve, okay.
The practice of meditation for me is what helps me get better at resting in awareness. And in doing that, it helps me feel what my body is feeling like. So if I'm feeling anxious, usually I have butterflies in my stomach, so there's a sort of a mental aspect and a body aspect. Just sort of breathing into that butterfly feeling makes it just, I become aware of it, it subsides. Also the thought just kind of goes by, just like everything changes. So it's, Ram Dass sort of says it's a phenomenon. The thought or the feeling or whatever is now gone for the next phenomenon. So I like that just sort of notion of resting in awareness. And the more I practice, the more I do it in real life.
Yeah. And that's very much a Satipatthana Sutra kind of process, right? So the body in the body, the mind in the mind, but also to watch things arise, have the experience of them, and to watch them pass away is the invitation of the Satipatthana. So the invitation is to do exactly that. Like, oh, here's my body. Here's my mind. And yeah, and that's partially also why this idea of shifting, right? Like this interruption can be really beneficial. Like when I'm really overwhelmed, I go look for shit that I know will help me lower the volume on that. So that, because if it's too loud, I can't get to a place where I can watch it arise and pass away, arise and pass away. But you're right. Consistent meditation, I want to say, not just meditation, but consistent meditation. I've done it every day for 30 years. That has an impact, right? So that's where the consistency part comes too. I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's practice.
Right.
It's a practice.
But yeah, I think this idea of the Satipatthana Sutra, the arising and passing away, and watching that process, and noticing the hindrances. And we're at time.
We are. Great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate you. I appreciate this Sangha, and I appreciate every time I get a chance to come and be with you.